Welcome back to the Beautifully Intentional podcast. We are on episode 4 of this 4-part series, the marriage series for October. And we have officially celebrated our anniversary and 13 years. And so today I am sitting down with yours truly, Dustin Lau, and we are doing a Q&A. I did a poll on Instagram and I asked you guys for some questions that you guys had for us to answer. And so we dive deep into each of those questions. Not all of them. We weren't able to get to all of them, but we dive deep into a good handful of them. And yeah, so listen in. Welcome to the Beautifully Intentional podcast, where I share stories to encourage you to live a more intentional life. Whether it's in your motherhood journey, your friendships, your 9-to-5 job, or pursuing just radical dreams. I believe that sometimes we can just get stuck in the mundane craziness of life, and all it takes is one encouraging word to give us hope to live for something greater. I share stories of living intentional through the simple things like self-care, clean spaces, parenthood, and going after your dreams. My hope is that at the end of every episode, there is a fire set deep within your soul that says, I can do this. And that maybe today is your day to find the beauty in the things that go unnoticed and start living a more intentional life. This is Cassandra Lau, and welcome to Beautifully Intentional. Well, look who we have here.
You know, I'm kind of offended that you've been doing this podcast since June, and this is the first time I'm invited on your show.
Right. Yeah, we can work that one out later.
Okay.
Well,
actually, I did make an appearance.
You've made a couple of appearances.
I laughed and threw in my...
You were just tapping on your glass.
Nobody can hear that.
Yes, they can. Yeah, they also heard you opening up your cereal box.
I opened my cereal.
You've laughed at Naomi.
I laughed at Naomi and I threw in my 2 cents.
Yeah. Yeah, so you've made several appearances.
Okay.
Don't at me.
Okay. Don't at, okay.
That's what the young kids say.
Okay. I didn't know what that meant.
Mm-hmm.
Don't what at you? Look at you? Don't
talk
at you? Talk at you?
Any of it.
Okay.
All right. Should we
I
get started?
apologize. I'm going to be drinking coffee during this, so.
Oh my gosh, it's so annoying.
I have to do it like that.
All right, let's just get started.
Let's roll.
So here we are, marriage Q&A. Are you ready for this?
Ask me anything. I know everything there is.
You know everything there is, huh? I'm
Yep.
pro.
Yep.
Well, question number 1. How did you know each other were the one?
I didn't.
Do you want to answer this one first, or do you want me to?
Yeah, I didn't know. I'll answer right now. I did not know.
Okay.
That's the truth.
It is the truth.
Cassandra rolls up with all her little high school friends. And
Who had graduated 6 months? Before that?
Sure, but you guys, oh my God.
I have never talked like that a day in my life.
We're at church. This is what I'm seeing. I see
Okay.
these. So at this church we're going to, nobody comes up to the stage. They just don't, because everybody's old and nobody cares. But I'm warming up on my instrument, my keyboard.
Right.
These girls rush the stage. Oh my God! Hi guys! Oh my God! Oh,
We never said, "Oh my God," for the record.
But that's what I'm. It looks like
Sure.
you're saying it just
Okay.
by your hair.
Hair?
And your
What does that even mean?
your clothes.
Right.
That,
Okay.
they're all
Bopper?
screaming that. So
Okay.
I'm looking like, oh, kind of cute, but oh my gosh, no,
Right.
no way. I'm on the hunt, but not that far back in years. So I didn't know she was the one at first
Sure.
until
Right.
some time had passed
Right.
and we developed a very nice friendship
Right.
because I was trying to hook her up with my roommate.
Right.
And we developed a very nice friendship. And
Yeah.
I knew she was the one when we were at Barnes & Noble.
Yes.
And we were reading magazines together.
Right.
And you said something, I don't even know what. But I started laughing uncontrollably until I was hiccuping. And I hiccuped for 3 days straight. I was like, I don't think a girl's ever made me laugh that much in my life. And I don't even know if it was funny. I just connected.
It could have been that funny because we can't remember.
I didn't know what it was. I remember there was a picture of a table, a dining room table with some stuff on it, and you said something stupid.
Yes.
And I laughed at that for
3 days
I
straight.
couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah. Right.
And all the people that were trying to read
Right.
in there were getting
Right.
very, very pissed off at us.
Right.
That's
when you knew.
I knew.
That's when you knew, when I gave you hiccups for 3 days.
Yep, I knew it.
Yeah, that's great.
So.
Well, I don't believe that anybody is the one, because...
What the heck? Why are we having this conversation then?
Because the question was, how did you know they were the one? And personally, I just don't believe that anybody is the one.
I'm not the one.
I'm just saying in general.
I'm generally not the one.
The one is somebody who, it could be anybody. Who
I beg your pardon. I am the one.
who you're willing to commit to for the rest of your life. And so it could be, I feel like there's lots of fish in the sea that could be, if you both agree that you're both going to commit to each other. So I picked you to be the one, not that I feel like you were destined.
So did you pick
from
me
beginning of
to
time.
be the one?
I picked you to be the one forever, not that it was like...
So I was the one.
Yes,
You picked.
well, eventually, yeah. But I'm just prefacing with, I don't want people out there on the hunt like, where's the one? The one is who you decide to be the one, who also decides that you're the one.
Now I get it.
Okay? So I think for me, I've always felt like anytime I was in a relationship with anybody, whether it was like dating them long-term, short-term, on a single date, at some point, usually within a few hours, I always got that pit, like, I need to get out of here. Like, somebody get me out of here. Even if it was somebody I like, even if it was somebody that I went back to on a regular basis, or even somebody I was in a relationship for a long time.
What was it about?
I don't know. Whether it was their mannerisms or something about their personality or just something about me not seeing myself long term in the future with them. I don't really know.
Like, tell me an example.
I don't have an example.
Like, what
It's
mannerism where you're like, no, that is,
I don't
like
talk
that.
like that. I've never talked like that.
I mean, your own way.
I don't have a specific thing. It's like this, like, feeling. I don't know. It's a vibe. I don't know. But there was just always something in me that was like, I just got to get out. I remember even dating this guy, and I really liked him. And by the end of hanging out, I always would say, like, oh man, I think I have to go babysit my brother and sister.
Oh my gosh.
I just wanted out, and I don't know why, but then I would always go back because I liked them. But then when I'm with them, I'm like, I don't know, I got to get out.
Okay, so...
So you come into the picture, and what I loved about liking you was that I knew from the get-go that you were not interested because I was a child. So...
How'd you know that?
Well, because, people told me. And so... you were just being exactly who you were, and you weren't trying to impress me. So chasing me in a parking lot, acting like a monster,
awesome.
like just random stuff like that like nobody would do if you're trying to impress somebody. And so,
what if I was trying to impress you? Like, check this.
If that was your way
out.
of impressing, then I would have been out so fast. But I knew that you weren't trying to impress me. You were just being you, and I just really liked you. And never did I get that feeling of, man, I just got to get out. Like,
Sure.
I never felt like I don't want to be here. Never felt like I want out. Like I was, and that was a sign to me that was like, oh, maybe I actually... It wasn't even just like a thought. It was like, no, I actually don't ever want to be out. You know what I mean? Like that feeling of, I don't want this to go away. And so, like, well, I better put a ring on it if I want this to go away.
Totally. It's funny because I remember girls like you when I was trying to date,
Right.
being like, oh, this is working out pretty good. And they'd be like, okay, oh, I gotta go. Like, okay. Like, wait, hold on. Hey, wait.
You didn't talk like that.
Megan,
Here's your jacket.
Here's your jacket, though. But now I understand that.
Right.
And what's also funny is that because, like, the Lord up in heaven set this up because every time I was into a girl at the very beginning, I was not ever myself. And I always remember that inward struggle being like, why can't I just relax and be me? Because, otherwise I'm just clammed up and I'm like, I'm just trying to protect something or not get hurt or something or like not be myself. But with you, because I was trying to stay with somebody else, you're just one of the guys.
One of the dudes. Do you remember that Old Spaghetti Factory going to dinner with you and all your pals?
Yeah.
All your
Oh, yeah.
dudes. And then that chick saying, oh, yeah, I was like you too. I hung out with only guys. Oh, my God.
Like,
Like,
oh,
what are
are
you
you
trying to
calling
say?
her a slut or something? This is weird. I'll take $5 off your tip.
All right.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's cool.
All right. I think that answers that.
Yeah.
So for you, it was just not knowing that I was the one.
Not knowing you were the one.
And me not believing that there's the one, just
Right.
who I didn't want to leave.
You're right. I was always looking for the one, that feeling.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So, and because that didn't pop in my heart right away,
Right.
I didn't, I didn't think that, I mean, I thought that you were very attractive.
Sure.
And
Nobody can deny that.
right, very attractive. You had this big red curly hair. And I also never liked redheads.
Right.
So I think that was automatically like, no, not her, because
Yeah.
she's a redhead.
Right.
But you weren't like a redhead.
Right. And the joke's on you because then you reproduce two more of them.
Exactly. You weren't like a typical redhead. You were a different redhead.
A different kind of redhead.
And yeah. So
Yeah, for sure. Okay. All right, next question. Have you ever felt like giving up?
like giving, I mean, sure, but not really.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I've never gotten to the place where I've been like, that is it. I am done.
Right.
I'm, moving out or something
Right.
like that. Like, I've never gotten to that place.
Right.
I feel like there's always hope and there's always a way to work something out. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's because my parents always worked it out. Like, I've heard them yell at each other when growing up and fighting, but they never left each other.
Right.
And so maybe it's because of that, or I don't know. I just kind of like, as a kid, I was always a hopeless romantic. Like, oh yeah, you just work it out, right? You just, everything's fixable in this relationship.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think I've never felt like I want to give up. I think that when we were dating, we had to take that little break. I didn't think I had to take the break. You were figuring out your stuff.
Dating,
but,
yeah. That's because I was trying to figure out if you were the one.
Which I already had decided that you were the one. But but never in marriage have I ever felt like giving up. Same thing. I'm like, I'm not starting over. So if this didn't work out, I'm single the rest of my life. So am I willing to be alone the rest of my life? No. But nor do I want to be alone, or nor do I want to be without you. So I've never felt like, and I don't think we've ever had a fight that felt like, oh my God, is this on the rocks?
Yeah, we're not fighters.
Right.
We don't yell at each other.
Right.
Like.
Yeah, I talked about that in my previous one.
Did you?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Well, it's because you haven't edited it yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not.
So
fighters.
we don't fight.
Right. Not that we don't disagree.
But what do we
disagree
do
all the time.
though? Let's talk about that real quick.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that I just go, never mind,
Yeah.
and then we don't talk.
Right. So I think that we're both naturally avoiders of conflict.
Totally.
Not necessarily avoiders of conflict, but because we're not yellers, what's the alternative, right? So I think that for you naturally either have some smart A comment or and I don't get offended by it because I know that it's just you talking out of being offended or hurt. So I'm like, whatever, not a big deal. And then we just circle back around. Or if there's something that needs to be talked about, then we just talk about it.
Right.
If we disagree, then we can disagree without yelling. We can
totally
not see eye to eye on something without yelling.
Yeah.
Naomi's been in the room when there's been disagreements and she thinks we're getting divorced and I'm laughing and
We're
she's
just
like, I don't
talking,
understand
right?
why you're laughing right now. And I'm like, because
Have
we're
you
just
heard
talking.
real fights from people? They're
And
loud.
so that's funny because I feel like for you saw your parents stay together. I never saw that. I only saw fighting.
Interesting.
So I'm not afraid of fighting. It just, you know what I mean? Maybe just because I've been around it and I've been around people who are always breaking up. People are always fighting. So it's not a fear of mine because I've seen it, but I just don't feel it. I don't feel like there's ever been anything that you've done that is worthy of screaming at you over, you know?
And I think also my tendency has always been to be passive and not address stuff, which I'm constantly trying to nope, you're going to be involved. You're going to be present in this disagreement or this conversation.
Right.
Because I don't want to be passive at all. And because that doesn't do anything good.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, I mean, I've felt anger inside, but I haven't
Right. When have
I don't know.
anger?
I'm sure I have at some point.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
when you, I don't know.
Right.
Maybe I'll think of something.
All right.
Later.
Back around it. All right. So the answer to never giving up personally in our relationship, no, not really. Let's see here. How do you guys balance sharing household responsibilities? This is coming from a particular wife whose husband particularly doesn't do anything. So that's why she's wondering, how do you balance that? Or like, how do you, yeah.
Well, I just do everything, and then whatever Cassandra wants to do, she can do.
That's not true.
No, it's not.
Okay,
Not true.
so I feel like we've gone in and out of seasons of this, because when we first got married, we worked the same amount of hours, right? So I feel like we equally shared chores because we worked the same amount of hours. And then once I stayed home with the kids for 5 years, you were touring. So then I took care of all of the household things.
Yeah.
And then once I went back to work, I think we were used to me taking care of all the household things. So
Like what?
just like laundry, like
Oh,
cleaning
sure.
bathrooms, like cleaning up kids' rooms, going through all their stuff, like all of that. And it wasn't until I started working, and then I started getting really overwhelmed, and I would come home from work like super frustrated.
Yeah,
And then we had to talk about it, like, okay, this isn't working. Like, I can't go to work and then come home and then still have like mountains of laundry and all this stuff to do. So then we just came up with an old-fashioned chore chart.
Yeah, chore chart.
Chore chart. So, I mean, I think that in every family, it will look different, because for a mom who's a stay-at-home mom and she has the hours in the day at home, in the home, to take care of the home while the husband's gone, then that's one thing. But I think that in our culture, a lot of women work. In fact, I can literally only think of one friend who's a stay-at-home mom, but she also has like an Etsy shop. So she also does work, you know. The only other mom, okay, that's right. There's only one mom. There's only one mom who doesn't even have like a side gig. She's the only one in the home.
Really?
That's it. Out of all of my friends, every single one of them work. So I think that like culturally, it's always been the responsibility of like in the past, it's always been, you know, the husband goes to work and the mom does the housekeeping, and that's it, you know, or the wife does the housekeeping. And even if you didn't have kids, there was like the housewife, you know.
Yeah, totally.
And that's just not our culture anymore. And I think that for some husbands, they might not have caught on to that shift of like, hey, if your wife is working and she's also bringing in money, or like homeschooling the kids, or is running a side gig, that there's only so many hours in the day, and that if those hours are being given to work, then they cannot be given to the home. So for some dudes, I think that it's hard for them to like catch on to that. But I feel like in our friends group, there's a lot of guys who also
Pick up the slack.
Yeah,
sure.
It's like you just have to. And in our home, I think that like we have just mutual agreements of what one does and what one doesn't. Like, you cook all of our meals. Like,
yeah.
if I cook the meals, everyone's pissed because it doesn't taste very good.
Some stuff.
But yeah, so I think that just practically we came up with like a chore chart system where it's like, if I'm working, these are the things that need to be done on Monday, Wednesdays and Fridays. When you're in the office, these are the things I do on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and we just make it work. Life gets crazy, things get out of control sometimes.
Yeah, and there's some stuff you do way better, and like balancing our we don't have a checkbook, but
sure, if we had one, I'd be balancing
you would be balancing that very, very nicely.
Right.
And I suck at that. So you kind of tend towards that stuff. But yeah, I think that, I think once we kind of designated, like, we wrote that list out, like, Mondays, this is what we need to do because this is the schedule for Monday. Because every day has a different schedule.
Yeah.
Like, you're working different days, but now you're consistently working a few days during the week that you can count on.
Yeah.
And then I go in and create my own schedule around that. And once we wrote all those days, separate days out, and what needs to get done that day, I felt like we got a lot done.
Yeah. And just like our family works as like a collective family unit. Like we only can thrive if we're all pitching in together, including the kids. It's like they have their laundry day and they are responsible for their laundry.
And they do it.
Like,
they know it. They know when their laundry day is. And Zuri gets up before everybody and drags her basket at 6:30 in the morning.
Starts laundry.
Starts her laundry. And also I grew up like having to do chores.
Oh,
so
sure.
I don't know if that helps
I think it does.
Absolutely helps.
And you lived on your own.
And I lived on my own. I had to take care of, all my stuff there with a roommate. Right. So I kind of had practice,
Yeah.
But every Friday was chore day in my house, and I had a list of chores that I had to get done, or else, I don't know, something would happen.
Right.
I couldn't play Nintendo, or I don't know.
Right.
But
couldn't play Nintendo.
I had practice, being responsible, and I think that stuff really helped.
I think it does because did I ever tell you the story of when that guy came over to try to fix our washer, and he saw Jet, and he was like, "Do you know how to work a washer machine?" And Jet's all, "Yeah, I do my laundry." And he was like, "What?" He's like, "Are you serious?" And I'm like, "Yeah, he can put in his own laundry. Like, yeah, he's 5, but he's get a step stool and he can put his clothes in there. He knows how to turn a handle and pull it and push buttons, I'll like do the soap for him." But he said, "That's incredible." He said, "I just left this guy's house who's 43 years old, and he hired me to come teach him how to use his washer and dryer. Yes, how to use his stove."
That's embarrassing.
He said that he's never once in his entire life washed a load of laundry, cooked a meal for himself, because his mom did all of that, and then he got married and his wife did all of that, and then they got divorced.
Oh my gosh.
And so he was left with literally not knowing how to turn on a stove. So I think that teaching your kids from a young age, including your boys, like how to clean, how to do chores, totally sets them up for success. But
and luckily, like, they don't mind.
Yeah, they don't mind.
Like, Jet likes to do his laundry. I told him one time, I was like, "Jet, it's your laundry day." Yes!
Yeah, I love laundry.
And got it the little stool and stuff. But no, he
totally
likes to do it.
Yeah. And then just every day, like, all right, kids, like, look around. Like, I'm not going to clean up all their stuff for them. So I can tell them, like, "Hey, Amelie, there's your shoes. Hey, Jet, you left your homework stuff out," or whatever. So it takes all of us to really do it. And I could not imagine me being the only person, and I know that there's a lot of like wives and moms who are probably crying right now because they feel like the weight of them being the only ones, and the only advice I can give is communicate that
and also like when you realize like we're not living in peace, and when you put your finger on it, like you're not living in peace sometimes because your house is a mess, and like and so like having that conversation, "Hey, this is not giving me peace to walk in the door right now because of how not clean it is. So let's figure out like how like having a clean bathroom, in the master bedroom is something that's going to lower my anxiety. So that's a priority to keep that clean, and stuff like that.
Yeah, totally. Cool. Let's see here. How does the Enneagram help in your marriage?
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Okay, go ahead. It has, though. It's been fun to dig into the Enneagram.
I know. I feel like it's been like a couple of years. Has it been? I don't know. But I feel like it's crazy because finding out like our numbers has helped even just answer questions that we've probably had about each other for like 10 years. Right? Like I've never understood why you insist on having to get coffee even if we're late in order to like take a drive up the mountain. Like why would you have to do that?
It's the vibe.
So Dustin being a 4, I'm a 9.
It feels right.
Right. And I don't understand feelings like that. And so it wasn't until like discovering the Enneagram where it's like, okay, that actually for a 4, having that vibe right, getting that specific locally brewed like roasted coffee on the way up to
not
driving
Starbucks,
up.
Sorry everybody, but not Starbucks.
Driving up a mountain. That gives you peace. And because I'm peace driven, like I can at least relate to and accept that like, okay, if that's what brings you peace, like then, and that's what makes you feel like your world is all like working together,
great,
then but so there's things like that I never understood that I feel like digging into your type, I'm starting to understand more about you. And
I'm starting to understand you when we're on the road and somebody cuts me off and I'm mad at them and I'm yelling at them.
Personally offended.
I'm mad and I'm personally offended and I give my case on why they did that to me and and why they're out to get me. And you are always like, well, you got to think about where they're coming from. And you're constantly defending every other driver on the road and not with me on that.
Right. We have had this fight for literally, guys, 13 years.
13 years. Well, he's probably this is going to visit somebody in the hospital. And he has to cut you off right now.
He could. Yeah,
He can't.
How many stop signs did you have to run in the middle of the night when you're driving me to the hospital when I'm in labor? How many?
I didn't.
How many
run
streets
any.
of ours did
I was
you miss?
Looking for our street, but I couldn't find it.
You turned down the wrong street 3 times running stop signs.
Right.
So my thing has always been, and he's never been able to understand this, I think he finally understands this now learning my type. And that is, for a 9, you just have this weird sense of all perspectives simultaneously at the same time. But most importantly, I've always tried to explain this to you, that when somebody cuts you off and you're personally offended at their action toward you that they did not mean to do toward you as a human being, I am more concerned with your quality of heart than their action. I could literally care less why they cut you off, but for that to cause offense in you, I want you to live in peace, that you don't have to be offended when somebody cuts you off, when we have no idea what they're going through in life that caused them to do that. It could have been personal. They could have been like, I don't like this guy's car, I'm going to cut him off.
I think 98% of the time,
but even
it's
if
personal
it was,
all the time.
But even if it was, I want to see you living in peace, that somebody can cut you off and it's not going to disrupt your day or your heart. And so it's really not defending other people. I'm actually defending your actual heart.
Right. I'm getting there.
You're getting there.
When people cut me off, I just say, merge on over. The sun is out.
Favorite.
It's a beautiful day.
This is my favorite. When you're backing out and somebody walks behind you and then you say, don't you see that I'm backing out? And then when we're walking behind someone backing out,
don't you see that we're walking behind you? Gosh. That's because people are out to get me. I don't know why.
No one's out to get you.
I don't know why
no
that is.
No one's out to get you.
I don't know what I did to anybody.
You didn't do anything
but
to
they're
anybody.
out to make me have a bad day. And
no, they're not.
I hate that about them.
And so when somebody... So when someone's backing out while we're walking behind them, it's the same as us backing out and not seeing.
I know. You don't have to explain to me. I know. But for whatever reason, people want me to have a bad day, and that's just not cool with me.
Right. Okay. Well, bringing it back to...
All right, I'm working on it, though.
Right, we're working on it.
I'm trying to get my 9 hat on a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
Did you ever describe what a Enneagram 9 is and a 4 also?
No. I mean, I think that in the past we've described what a 9 is. Okay. And the 9 is the peacekeeper, is the title or whatever. Sure. But somebody who thrives in harmony, keeping the peace, not seeing the sides, seeing all perspectives, that kind of person.
Well, I'll just so you know right quickly, I'll describe to you my personality. No, I don't want to read this.
Why?
Because this is all the bad stuff.
Just read it.
All right. So, in dealing with me, type 4 is... This sounds terrible. Not all of this is true, everybody.
Most of it is true, but it doesn't have to be terrible.
Okay.
It's not, yeah, go ahead.
Main theme, underlying theme is a feeling of loss, abandonment, and separation. I don't know. Deficiency feels caused by some unknown tragic flaw in the self. Seeks meaning and emotional depth to acquire what feels missing. Needs to connect personally to everything. Chronically disappointed. Shut up. Anyway, attracted to the unavailable, longing, yearning for the things past and future.
Right.
High drama. Well, not really.
Well.
Intensity. Emotional extremes, probably. Mm-hmm. Intense mood swings. Everything is filtered through emotions. Mood can override fact. Compulsion to be extraordinary, special, unique, and self-absorbed. Oh, okay, yeah. Feels both shameful, fatally flawed, and unique, and elite at the same time. All right, those are just some. I'm not going to read anymore,
okay.
But
you get the idea.
You get it.
It's the creative one. It's the one who is emotional, who attaches, feeling to things and vibes and.
That's why we work together well.
Exactly. I think that's why we balance each other, because I am very much especially 9s are typically more closed off, don't connect super easy or emotionally, because we want to keep everything harmonious and peaceful.
So that I work to draw that out of you.
Exactly.
In different ways.
Yes. Yeah. And I help balance out
my sanity.
your sanity.
No, absolutely. You absolutely do.
Yeah.
That's why I'm am I wrong in feeling like this? And most of the time it's, yeah, you are. This is how you should be feeling because you need to put yourself in their shoes.
Right.
And that's good.
Right.
It's good for me.
It is good. So I highly recommend that if you have not gone through the Enneagram. I think it's just a good tool on self-awareness, and just discovering yourself is can bring light into a marriage because you're bringing yourself into the marriage. So if you don't know yourself and what drives you and how you're wired, then it would be hard to intertwine that in your marriage.
Yep.
That makes sense. Okay.
It does.
The next one. Even though you are both saved Christians, how do you handle when one is off spiritually?
That is a great question.
Mm-hmm. I personally think that, so when we met, I feel like you were at a completely different place spiritually than I was. Mm-hmm. And so we would say then that I was the one that was off, right? And you just kind of pulled me into your world and just kind of took me under your wing and just taught me a lot. Were just always praying for me or just encouraging me in that direction. And then I feel like I then got to a place where I was probably at my most spiritual, closest to God, prayed the most, read the most, journaled the most. But that was in a season where I actually fell my hardest. Mm-hmm. So I feel like for my own life in the last several years has just been inviting God into my life in everything that I do. And I don't put pressure on myself to read my Bible every single day, right. Or have my devotion and my quiet time and all of the things that they say get you closer to God, because I did those things and that's where I fell my hardest. So I feel like in a spiritual walk, my spiritual walk just looks like God is a part of my everyday life and everything that I do. And I'm always looking for him and looking for guidance and answers. Yeah. But, so it's hard because I don't know if the question necessarily means when you're offended at God, or if you're on purpose distancing yourself from God. I don't know if it's just something that my whole life, I've never been a person to ever blame God for anything, because I understand that we as humans are in control of every choice that we make, and God is not going to control me, nor is he going to control bad people. So bad things happen to good people because some people are bad people and they make bad choices, but God's not going to control them either. So in tragedy, I've never blamed God. So it's never put me in a bad place spiritually. I think that I've gone through seasons of maybe feeling not as close to God because of maybe
time,
just or lack of getting close to God, but it's just never in my life has affected me spiritually to where I become a bad person because of it. You know what I mean? I feel like I was the worst version of myself when I was closest to God, which is ironic, But yeah, I don't know. How do you handle?
I don't know. I don't feel like, because I don't feel like if I have seen you not walking the way you're supposed to be walking, I'm not mad at you, right? Or I'm not offended that you're not right. Why aren't you reading your Bible more, or why aren't you praying more? That's not the stance that I take. But I feel like, I think life is just full of, just sometimes dry times, and sometimes you're just overflowing. I don't know. I feel like we go through those things throughout life, and and for me, when I'm in dry times, I usually am very good at telling you all the problems I'm facing spiritually, or like I'm feeling this way. I'm this has crept into my life, and I don't know. I feel like we always try to we could sharpen each other that way a lot of times. You bring truth, or and sometimes I'm speaking truth to you. Even though you have a pretty good grasp on how stuff works, sometimes you have doubts about stuff. Of course, and I'm able to help balance that out for you too.
And I feel like I take spiritual walk in the same way that I would take pursuing your passion or work or things. So it's you just show up for each other. So it's if you're struggling in whatever perception of like your level of faith in something, then it's my job to come alongside you and remind you of truth.
Yeah, exactly.
In the same way, it's like if you're struggling with work or whatever, it's my job to come alongside you and encourage you in truth. And so I don't think that either one of us have ever gotten to a point where one has said, like, I'm not going to church anymore because I'm mad at God. We've just never gone through that. I think we've always been in the same, like, place at the same time.
And if we've been offended, then we have to examine, like, well, that's not his character, so what's wrong here? What's wrong with my heart? And how do I align again with this perfect, beautiful God,
Yeah. And I think that if we ever got to a place where, like, we were on different pages, and because I know that happens in marriages all the time, where either one spouse, it's a couple and neither of them are Christians, and one gets saved, and then, or vice versa, one falls away from God. I think that if you ever got to a point where you were so pissed off at God and the church that you did not want anything to do with church or God, I think that I would still stand by you. And if that meant that I didn't go to church so that I could be with you, and I just kept my personal relationship with God, but I don't ever think that, like, an organization or church or, like, anything like that should ever become priority. Like, our marriage comes before all the outward, like, God, quote unquote, Christian things. Like, if ministry came between us, I would stop doing ministry.
Totally.
If whatever, all of that stuff, if that meant that it was putting a strain on our relationship, I would 100% obviously still, like, pray to God and give our relationship to God and all of that. But I think that showing you that you're personally more important than any ministry that we could be a part of, or any church or anything that would take us down, I would stand by you in that. But we've never actually had to walk through that.
We've seen people walk through that, though.
Yes. And and I say that because what I've mostly seen is that people who pick ministry over their spouse lose their spouse.
They do. Yeah.
And so
there's burnout for sure.
Yeah. And I don't think that we're called to do that.
No.
But let's see here. What's something you wish someone would have told you in your early stages of marriage? I'm in the beginning stages of my marriage, and what advice can you give?
I guess I would have loved to hear that it's not 50-50, it's 100-100.
Right.
Like,
yeah,
we don't, like, I don't give 50% and then like expect you to fill in my need for my other 50%. Like, if I show up 100% for you and you show up 100% for me, that's called exchanging our lives, right?
Yeah.
And that's how it works. Like, if I'm living my best out for you and you're living your best out for me, then we're fulfilled, right? That's how it should work.
Right. I totally agree. Yeah, I think that, like, I feel like when we got married, because I was only 20 years old and most of my friends or my people didn't know you, I went into it with a lot of people saying, like, this isn't gonna work, like, how, like, you're making a crazy decision. Like, are you sure about this? Like, my boss at B of A, like, the whole deal. Like, everybody was, like, so concerned. And instead of the concern, I wish that people would have shown up and, like, if you're going to do this 100% can work. It's actually possible to work. And it will require 100% commitment. I totally agree. And that's what I talk about in my previous episode that you haven't edited yet. But
sure. I mean, even some of my own friends were like, dude, you don't want to marry her.
Yeah.
Like, why? Because this, and this. Are you serious, man? You know what?
Yeah.
Like, well, what? And instead of being like encouraging, like, all right, well, this is what it's going to take. This is what I see.
Yeah.
Let's, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think that for a long time, especially when you grow up in the church or you are getting married while Christian, I feel like a lot of people have a checklist of like, this is what it has to look like or it will fail.
Right.
And we're all Christians are people that have invited God into their heart. Like, and, I've decided that, like, I'm going to trust God with my life. It doesn't make us less sinful. It doesn't make us less angry or less, like, anything. It has God's power has the ability to step in and give us truth, but because it doesn't control us, we're still just people. So I think that a lot of people, like, they put all of their, I mean, this only happens in Christian relationships, I feel like, but, you know, like put all of their like focus on like, well, everything has to be just right or it's not going to work. And
Right.
really it just takes two people who are 100% committed to each other through anything, and they will make it.
Yeah, and oftentimes it's two broken people.
Yeah.
And you just have to live life together and like make it work.
Yeah. And I think that even if it's not two broken people at the time, they will break at some point because that's life.
Yeah.
It's like you could be two totally whole and healed people, and then you lose a child, and that's going to break you, you know, or you go through some other traumatic experience and like you lose a limb, that's going to break you. Like there's things that I think we go through that will break us. And if you like, but we have to, if you're committed even through like trial and breaking points and all of that, if you're 100% committed to that person, then 100.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the last question is, how do you keep the spark alive?
Easy. All I do is put on my fancy clothes.
Oh my god.
And my cool hipster hats that I buy.
Right.
The spark is there, my friends. I mean, don't go shopping at Walmart, dudes. Like, you gotta get out there.
Gotta get out there.
You know, get some sick boots.
Right. That's how you keep the spark alive. That's your answer.
Spark that, dude.
That's a 4. I just want you to know that's the answer before.
Buy her some great roasted coffee.
Don't
from
drink
like
coffee.
From like a great, you know, like somewhere sick.
Right. My answer to that would be the spark comes throughout all the day. I don't think it's just like intimacy in the bedroom. The spark is I mean there's spark there, but the spark isn't just, you can't just rely on just that. It's communication. That's how you can keep the spark alive, is by always openly communicating, because if you don't talk about anything, then how are you supposed to
then you're just
be connected, right? And then like dating, make it intentional to go on dates. It's really hard for us because we don't necessarily have a ton of like open resources all the time, but
dates are hard for us. Dates are hard, but
we have friends that show up. You just have to ask. You have to ask for help.
You do have to ask. You have to ask for help, and you have to have meaningful time. Even if you can't go out to a place, you have to have meaningful times inside your house when the kids go to bed. You know?
Right. Yeah. I think it's just like you keep the spark alive by being intentional. It's like if you...
Beautifully intentional.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
No, it's true though.
Yeah.
It's true. And also, is getting to know your love language.
Right. Which is also something I talk about in my last one.
Did you? In the last one?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I didn't know your love language for a long time because you didn't know your love language.
Yeah, that's what I talked about.
Okay, cool. And so, but now that I know it's a little of everything, I have to do a little bit of everything to keep that spark alive.
It's not necessarily. No, I have
to do everything equally.
No, I've come down.
I have to clean.
No,
I have to do words of affirmation.
No.
I have to touch you all the time.
Oh my god!
You know how hard it is to keep touching you?
I'm so sure.
No,
really
I've gone down to the bottom
of it.
Touching you.
I thought that it was all 5 for 10 years, but in the last few years, I have gotten down to the bottom of like the top 2.
What were
top
they
1. You've got to be kidding
Okay, let me
me.
guess.
You know this.
The top 2 would be quality time.
Okay, that's second, but yeah.
But you said top 2.
I
so
know,
that's
but it comes as number 2. Yeah.
Number 1 is acts of service.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, you do all the things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I'm always busting my
That's so dumb.
to clean the house.
Yeah. No, totally.
Vacuum up crackers. I don't want to vacuum crackers.
Right, of course not. Yeah.
But I will if it's fueling your love tank.
Right.
And keeping the spark alive.
Right.
And if it turns you on at night
Right.
to vacuum the carpet, I'll do that.
Right. Works like a charm.
Right.
All right. Well, this is great.
This is great. Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Wow. Anything else you want to talk about while we're here? Because I don't get the chance to be on this microphone.
Okay, I will invite you back.
I usually set it up and I leave.
Right. I'll invite you back.
But you guys are doing a great job out there
Right.
at marriage. You guys got this.
You guys got this.
You guys got this. And for those of you, we have a few friends that are about to get married.
Uh-huh.
And we just bless you and encourage you, and hopefully this encourages you guys.
Yeah.
That you can have fun. This is our 13th year into this, and it's still fun. I still laugh a lot. I still think Cassandra's so stupid that I laugh so hard.
I still laugh a lot. He swears that I don't laugh at his jokes anymore. I still laugh at your jokes.
You don't.
Sometimes
she
it's
thinks
funnier
it's funnier
to not laugh at the jokes.
If I'm in a character and I'm like doing some dumb character, like, what's that Jewish guy?
The Jewish guy? What Jewish guy?
Or like Steve Swanson.
No, do not do Steve Swanson.
But I used to do a Steve Swanson character a lot, and now you never laugh at it. Hey, Cassandra.
That one is disgusting.
Cassandra, Steve Swanson
No.
from high school.
No, take a hike.
Remember me from high school.
I don't remember you.
Wow, you look sick right now.
Oh
you
my God, I gotta go.
Couple of children.
Yep, gotta go.
Wow, you're looking pretty sick.
Oh, you're disgusting.
Pretty sexy.
I can't.
You want to go to Sizzlers and have a steak with
No,
me?
I want nothing to do with going to Sizzlers.
Ow.
Oh my, what hurt you right now?
It's Steve Swanson.
It is disgusting. I need you to go away.
Yeah.
For example.
So yeah. Anyway.
Either way, I still laugh.
But still joke around and keep it real, everybody.
Keep it real.
You got this.
You got this. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I hope that you found this episode inspiring or encouraging and just life-giving. And as always, I appreciate any and all positive feedback, keynote positive feedback. So tag me, message me, go on iTunes and leave a review, rate, subscribe, because that's how podcasts stay alive. And I didn't even mean to rhyme there, so that works. So yeah, you can find me on Instagram at beautifully.intentional, and that's where I hang out. That's where you can kind of see me in my own personal life. And yeah, so thank you so much for listening in. Until next time.